Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears and the casita of catastrophic carburetors. We are here with my 1973 Ford Maverick. We're getting it ready for the San Marino Motor Classics coming up in just a couple of weeks. And I'm trying to get this car mechanically sorted as well as looking as good as it possibly can. In the last video, we did an overhaul of our power steering setup so that we could have power steering without it gushing all over the floor. We also installed an electric oil pressure gauge with an electric oil pressure sending unit. Required a little bit of work underneath the hood and some wiring. That's all running really good. And to top it all off, we added a tachometer in the dashboard in the gauge cluster. That was an awesome project, and I'm really looking forward to what I have in store for you this week. Because if you've been keeping up on my Maverick videos, you know that, well, it turns out I really suck at carburetor tuning. I just can't get it right. And when it comes to carburetors, it takes a lot of trial and error, and it takes a lot of experience, and it takes a lot of patience. Three things that I don't have. Now, there are other ways of getting fuel into the engine. There's fuel injection, there's a carburetor EFI, which is really cool, but these things are expensive. And I already spent a lot of money on this Holley carburetor. It's, not the carburetor's fault that I suck at carb tuning, but I have what I think is going to be the secret weapon to resolving this once and for all. A fellow YouTuber, his name is Luke. He runs a channel called Thunderhead289 on YouTube. Much better YouTuber than I am, and an incredible engineer, has developed a product called the Carb Cheater. And it has just arrived just a few minutes ago in this box right here. So in this video, we're going to open up this box. We're going to take a look at what's required to install the Carb Cheater, and hopefully we're going to get this thing on the Maverick. Now, one of the cool things about the Carb Cheater is that it promises to be plug and play and completely reversible if you decide you don't want it later on. So we're going to explore that because it sounds like it's going to be perfect for my Maverick. Let's get into it. As you can see, we have not opened up this box. And the first thing I noticed is that, well, the logo kind of looks like a butt. That's just me. But I get what he was going for, but it looks like a butt. Let's open this up. All right, it is reasonably packed. We have, what do we have here? This looks to be the control unit. Nice and compact, and you can mount it anywhere. It's got really beefy mounting holes for it, so you really can put this anywhere, and it's not going to move. Looks like wiring instructions. And we've got stickers. Oh, hell yeah. This is actually pretty cool. This, again, looks like a butt. It is definitely going in my toolbox for that reason. But this is rad. A couple of stickers. We've got a breather. The breather, I imagine, is so that the Carb Cheater can introduce air into the system. We've got a marker. We're going to find out what that's all about in the instructions. Some wiring. This looks like wiring with an inline fuse. That's pretty readily available stuff. This is where it gets. This is where the fun happens. This is a big old bundle of wire that I'm really glad that I don't have to string it up myself. Part of the product you're buying, which is pretty cool. Some hose clamps. This must be to attach the wideband O2 sensor into your bunghole on the exhaust. And this is the aforementioned wideband O2 sensor. This alone is worth real money, so that's pretty cool. I don't know what that is. We'll find out. But it came out of here, I think. This looks to be the valve that introduces air into the system. I like how branded everything is. We've got a little Carb Cheater here. It says Carb Cheater here. Like, this is a really nicely put together product. This wasn't a half-assed piece of crap, that's for sure. We got some vacuum tube. Very cool. I do need that. And some vacuum caps. And these are the good vacuum caps. All right, so now that it's unboxed, let's RTFM, and we'll get under the hood of this car, hopefully very soon. So I've read the instructions and I've watched one of Luke's videos. And the wiring is a little bit intense at first, but the important thing to know here is that you don't really need to worry about all of these to get this thing operational. So we got an orange wire, black, orange, and a white wire. Those are all, while white says future expansion, and the two orange ones are for dry relay. And that's something that he said you don't need off the bat to get this thing operational. So I've tied them up, and we're going to set them aside, and we're going to revisit it and figure out what they do later on. So now the first thing I need to do is to figure out where the hell I'm going to put everything, because this is a little bit of space that it takes up. It's not a lot of space, but I also don't have a lot of room to spare down here. We are not done yet. Still have to figure this out. And if you were paying attention to that little sequence that I just showed you, you would have noticed that I almost forgot to put fuses into the circuits. That's a really easy thing to do if you're getting caught up in the work. So I had to put one of the fuses here, and I had to put the other fuse here off of the main power. And upon further inspection, it looks like I may have not put a fuse on this relay that goes out to the coil. That's a really not good thing. So I need to look a little bit deeper into that. That's something I'll probably do off camera because it's not part of this project. But I want to reduce any unnecessary fire hazards as much as I can, especially if it's along the way of doing other work. We still have to go underneath the car and make our bunghole in the exhaust pipe. So we're going to do that next, and then once we have a home for that, we can run the wire up here and begin to finalize that and include figuring out what to do about this. We are under the car so that I can show you my bunghole. We have our wideband O2 sensor plugged into our bunghole, and the wire is run up into the engine compartment, and it is connected to the carb cheater. Hopefully we don't have a big, huge exhaust leak, but if we do, we'll address it. Let's go take one last look at the carb cheater setup under the hood, because I think we are ready to turn this thing on. Now this is a little bit messy, but it should get the job done. So the carb cheater valve has two vacuum ports. The first one is for the mass airflow sensor, and we have that running over here into the back of our manifold. We brought back my favorite vacuum tree, capped off all of the unused ports, and we're using the only one that we need. Maybe I'll be able to replace that someday, but for now, this should get the job done. The other one that goes to the valve is up into the front of the carburetor. It's the main port for our Holley carb. And then all the wiring I want to clean up later. I have some things on order, and I want to refactor that once it arrives. But for now, there's no reason why this shouldn't work. So off camera, I have resurrected an old Android device so that I can download the Carb Cheater app. And now we're going to go into the car so that we can turn the car on and pair it to this thing. This might be a little bit hard to film because I am working one-handed, but what you do is you're supposed to turn on Bluetooth pairing mode. I don't know what device that is. And then you turn the car on. And then once the Carb Cheater is ready to pair to, you see Carb Cheater right here in the menu. I'm going to go ahead and click it so I can pair it. Pair Carb Cheater. Pair. Try again. Pair. All right. Carb Cheater is paired. So now we should be able to go to the app. Okay. Connect module. We're paired. We're paired. We're paired. No. I hate software. Okay. I do not like software. I'm a software developer. And that's really saying something. I don't like software. Come on, turn on. Turn on. Connect. Connect. I'm in settings. I want to exit settings. I want to exit settings. I want to exit settings. Why won't you let me exit settings? Exit settings. Exit settings. Exit settings. Exit settings. Okay, there we are. My God. Connect module. 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 I'm a software developer who hates software on cars. And what am I trying to do right now? I'm trying to add software to my 73 Maverick. This is on me. Hey, it worked! Okay, so a couple of things that I learned. I tried switching to beta 1.11, which Luke actually responded to me very quickly, said that is a lot better for compatibility with older devices. But I switched back to 1.13 after a couple of attempts, failed attempts to connect to the Bluetooth module. So I switched back to 1.13, and for some reason it worked. So let's try to start this car. We've got auto tune off. That's how they recommend starting it off. We got to open up the garage door, and we're going to give this a try. So I have it set to target RPM at idle and at 750. We are currently at 700, 725. We're touching 750, so it's, you know, making little adjustments as we go. And as I rev up the car, you can see it's making adjustments as I open up the throttle. And you also see our fuel mixture moving up and down, our air fuel mixture. So you see it's at idle, it's at about 13, and then when we give it some gas, it leans out to about 14 and a half. And so the Carb Cheater is helping it maintain air-fuel ratio. And again, I just shut the car down because I don't want it to get too hot. We're just sitting in here in the garage. We're not going to drive it right now. Just wanted to play with the app. It still has a few connectivity issues, but after like 2 or 3 different tries, it actually is connecting consistently. So go figure, I had about 100 distros of the application that I built on this phone. So I cleared all of that out, and suddenly the phone started to cooperate a little bit more. Okay, so we are on our test drive, and you can see that we're having like really rich spikes. So we may, I don't know what this means. It could mean we're over jetted. It could mean a lot of things. But our air-fuel ratio is all over the map. You see auto tune is working here, but like Luke mentioned, it's gonna hide actual problems, and I think we have actual problems, but this data is really useful for figuring that out. It is 1,000 degrees. This is not when I wanted to be doing this, but I really don't have a choice because it's August. So after posting my initial graph on the Carb Cheater Facebook group, I got some really great feedback from the community, including from Luke himself. The first thing I want to do here is, before I even touch the carburetor, we need to get the timing right. So what I did was essentially reset everything to factory settings. I put the squirter nozzle that came with the carburetor back in. It was a 31. I previously had a 35. Now, if you remember from our rebuild project, it was a 40, which was way too big. So, and I believe the jets are also factory as well. They are 66. And I don't think I have any smaller jets than that, so I'm pretty sure that's the factory. In terms of the distributor had the heavy silver and the blue spring in. Blue spring, Luke mentioned, might be a little bit light for this car. And also my base timing at 8 degrees before top dead center might not be enough. I might need to go back to about 10. That's my guess, is 10. We'll find out what the car wants. We are down here underneath the car looking at the harmonic balancer. And you see these lines here? This little short line is top dead center. This longer line is 8 degrees. This is something that I had set a long time ago. However, I haven't been able to see this in years, apparently. It was covered in crap, and I thought I was on 0 when I was setting the timing previously, but I definitely wasn't. I have no idea currently where I have it set, but now we can reset it truly at 8 or 10 degrees or at wherever we want to be and actually be correct. I do believe we have made YouTube history because in a previous video, y'all watched me rebuild this carburetor. You also watched me modify and paint this bracket for the throttle cable to connect this throttle cable to this carburetor. And not a single one of you commented that this is wrong. These are the little ball thingies that the throttle cable is supposed to connect to, not the transmission kickdown. That's what this is supposed to be used for, which means that when I apply pressure to the throttle, it's not correct because we're applying pressure here and not here, so it's not opening correctly. This is definitely not the cause of all of my problems, but this is definitely a problem and something that I did wrong and something that I'm going to fix. Special shout out to Carlos at Carbs Only in Burbank for letting me know that I connected this wrong. And as to all of you who watched this video and didn't tell me that I was wrong, well, this is on you. I also took the opportunity to use the Freiberger technique on the spark plug wires, and they cleaned up so much better. They look so much better than they did before. It is amazing what zip ties can do to spark plug wires. So I'm happy enough with how this looks. Hopefully, I'm going to be happy with the way it runs, but there's only one way to find out. You know what time it is. We got to take this car out on a test drive. So I've done some things. The first thing that I did was I checked all of the spark plugs. I trimmed the boot to a couple of them to make sure that they could seat correctly. All of the other ones felt like they were solid. The car, as a result, feels like it's running on all 8 cylinders. It feels smooth. The other thing I noticed was that the vacuum tree that I was using for the carb treater was too tall. That meant that when I put the air cleaner down, I was pinching off the side for the metering. So all of my data might have been wrong. So we learned a lot. We did some things did a lot of work, and I think the car's ready for another test drive. I'm very reluctant to say this because it's been a rough day, but if we ended on a win, I'm going to be thrilled. So let's take it on a test drive. I'll check in with you in a minute. Okay, so far feels pretty good. The Carb Cheater, it keeps losing connection. Again, get the screen. I'm getting the screen, and so now I have no data. But just going off of the butt dyno and the way the car drives, it really feels a lot better. I've done a couple of polls with the Carb Cheater auto tune off for the purpose of data logging. So now I want to drive down that same road. We're just going to take it casual, and we're going to turn auto tune on. And the data, of course, I'm going to post on the Facebook group so that they can, you know, give me recommendations and see what's going on. It's really hard to drive manual one-handed like this, but I mean, I think the numbers are good. The car feels pretty damn smooth. Okay, so I'm gonna drive this thing back home. Hopefully the radiator doesn't blow up or something really stupid doesn't happen to me. And I'm gonna post the data that I have on the Carb Cheater Facebook group and see if there is anything that we should do to tune this thing to make it run even better. But for now, I mean, honestly, if I had to go to San Marino with the way the car is set up right now, I think I would be fine with it. It runs really, really good. It feels awesome. Well, I took the advice of the good people in the Carb Cheater forum. I've set my timing advance to 12 degrees before top dead center, and this car runs really good. I could get more timing out of it, and I should, but for now, this car runs really, really well, and I kind of don't want to mess with it too much until after the show. The one thing I may do is work on the choke a little bit, because I feel like it is closed too far when it's cold. It's never really genuinely cold here in Southern California, so there's really no need for it to be like completely shut and running super rich. But that said, the car does level out after about a minute, and it becomes reasonably drivable. And yeah, you're right, adjusting timing isn't that big of a deal. But it's really more about the brain power, the energy, the getting up to do something when I should be doing other things. And just the more time and energy I spend going over this over and over and over again, that is time and energy taken away from other projects that I need to get done. I still need to get my truck back from the shop, for God's sake. So there's a whole lot that I need to do, and I got this car running to a really good point, and I'm happy with it for now, and we will circle back to this and make it even better. I have been messing with this car for 7 years and just could not get it running right until now. With the Carb Cheater's wideband O2 and data logging, I was able to separate fuel air concerns from timing problems and then chart all of that out into real data. With the help of the Carb Cheater community and from Luke himself, after 7 years, I finally got my Maverick running really well, and I fell in love with the car all over again. Luke is a mechanic, an engineer, and a programmer. And he also has great taste in grunge music. And he's also about my age, maybe even a little younger. No matter who you are, seeing somebody that you identify with do the things you want to do is so inspiring. It's like a personal message of encouragement. You can do this. You are smart enough. You are talented enough. Carburetors were long gone by the time my generation came of age. And it's becoming more and more rare to find people who are happy to share their knowledge. You've heard me say this before, but your network will help you grow to new heights you've never thought possible. And thanks to Luke and the Carb Cheater community, I use the scientific method to sort out my Maverick, to grow as a mechanic, and hopefully spread some joy in the community. Thank you to Luke and everybody that helped me with their comments.